let's start with something that I've grown to truly appreciate, which is logistics. I know, it's super exciting, but it is. And to bring it to life, we have probably the superstar of global logistics to speak with, Mr. Lin Wan, the CEO of Cainiao. Please join me in welcoming Lin. Thank you for coming. You'll be right here. So you've been with Cainiao for, you just told me,
slightly more than 10 years.
Slightly more than 10 years, that's right. And you had an interesting role prior to that at a company that is probably more well-known that we just heard from, Amazon.
Yes, I worked for Amazon also for 9 years in Seattle, mainly in operations, logistics as well.
Yeah, Director of Global Logistics for Amazon. But with Cainiao, you've managed to do something that even Amazon hasn't been able to do, and we're going to get into that. But I want to start with the basics, because I think it's possible that many in our audience are not familiar with your company. And can you tell me a little bit about the company and kind of what its mission is?
Sure. Yeah, actually, everything goes back to the Double 11 event of 2012.
That's the, for those who might not be familiar with it, it's like the biggest one-day sale in China.
Yes, which is on the November 11th.
11/11.
Yes,
yeah.
On that year, more than 100 million orders was generated in one single day on all the Alibaba platforms like Taobao, Tmall. It was a huge success for the e-commerce. However, it was a disaster for logistics because
how many, like what order of magnitude more orders on it one day is that than a normal day?
It's like 20 times of the normal day.
Right.
Yeah, for that one. But for some of the brands, they could be 100 times of the normal day. For example, P&G was extremely popular in China during the Double 11 event. So the sales could be 100 times of the normal sales.
100 times.
Yeah, so it was, we mobilized all the partners, logistics companies, but still we see backlog everywhere.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of consumers has to wait more than a month to get their parcel. So it won't work. It was a wake-up call for us. We realized logistics could be a huge bottleneck for e-commerce. If we don't solve this problem, e-commerce won't really continue to scale. So,
well, you did solve it. I realized that I should have called for the video, which might frame what you're about to say. So I don't want to interrupt you, but is it okay if we run that video?
Sure, yeah.
So we're going to run a short video, and then you can come back, because I think this video shows that you solved a few problems. So let's roll it.
Commerce is continuously evolving and is more digitalized than ever before. Cainiao was incubated within the e-commerce ecosystem fostered by Alibaba. We are building a global smart logistics network and relentlessly innovating to address complex e-commerce logistics challenges. Our technology capabilities and e-commerce insights distinguishes us and enable us to emerge as a professional logistics service provider. Today, Cainiao is one of the leading cross-border e-commerce logistics companies globally. We provide disruptive logistics solutions with a superior speed, cost, and experience to support fast-growing cross-border e-commerce needs. With our standard express delivery services, we manage to cut down the delivery time between China and major global destinations from 30 to 60 days to 10 days or even shorter, all at a cost of a cup of coffee. In China, Cainiao offers innovative, omni-channel supply chain solutions to tackle complex logistics challenges, enabling customers to manage volume surges that can increase by the 100-fold during major shopping festivals. All of these are made possible because we have established one of the world's largest smart logistics networks, manage and operate critical infrastructures in strategic locations worldwide, covering over 200 countries and regions. Our technology DNA is deeply embedded within every aspect of our network. With AI-powered smart planning and fulfillment, we can meet the evolving needs of e-commerce customers. We are dedicated to integrating artificial intelligence to optimize parcel packaging, route planning, digital recycling to effectively reduce carbon emissions. Looking forward, we are committed to continuous innovation with the goal of transforming the logistics industry and enabling a seamless e-commerce experience anywhere in the world, realizing 24 hours delivery in China and 72 hours worldwide. By doing so, we believe we will make it easy to do business anywhere and create better lives for the billions of individuals on our planet.
You were basically already saying all of that, but I just wanted to make sure that we got that in because I forgot the cue here. But so, you know, one of the things that comes up in that video is that 24 and 72, 1 day and 3 days. As I understand it, you can already deliver a 1 kilogram package anywhere in China in a little over 2 days for 30 cents.
That's correct. Yeah.
I mean, that's like less than a postage stamp to deliver a package. And that must change all the possibilities on either side in terms of what kind of businesses can actually just exist because of that. Have you seen that kind of transformation?
Definitely, definitely, because as I mentioned, right, if we don't work on the logistic problems, it could be a bottleneck. But if we can build the right infrastructure, right solution for that, it's a huge enabler for the e-commerce business. We have seen that, and even though we talk about 100 million parcels on the single day, right, that 1 day, but you know what? Right now, every single day in China, e-commerce produce close to 400 million parcels every single normal day right now.
I love numbers out of China. They're always just like jaw-dropping. 400 million on a normal day.
On normal day.
So what does November 11th look like?
We don't count that anymore, right? It's still 10 times more than that, but it's not.
So we're talking about billions of parcels
yes. Yes.
And you handle that.
We have to handle that. We have to handle that. So that's why, you know, as I mentioned earlier, right, we started Cainiao 6 months after that Double 11 event, and with the idea that how can we, you know, focus on e-commerce and leverage technology to solve the problem. Right. And that's why, you know, this is, as you can see, I will have a very simple formula over here is we have been focusing on e-commerce because we believe e-commerce is quite different from the traditional requirement for e-commerce, for logistics. You have to, you know, have the high densities of the spikes, and you have to have the tracking information on every single step. And because consumer keeps asking, where is my parcel? Right, so, and you have to handle the return problems. There's so many returns right now. How can you get a return experience seamless? So it's quite different. So we have been focusing on the e-commerce. The other one is to solve this problem, you have to rely on technology. That's the only way you can scale. That's the only way you can create a solution, get better experience, better efficiency, and at the same time, get a lower cost structure. Mm-hmm. Without that, there's no way you can do that. Right. One of the reasons we can get to the 30 cents is because we have a large pickup and drop-off network right now enabled by our own technology, hardware, software. So we are serving around 90 million consumers every single day. They come to our store, pick up their parcel instead of we deliver to their home. And we try to do that within 300 meters of every single consumer so that they feel like the experience is on par with the home delivery. And when they pick up their parcel, they can actually only take the product and then leave the packaging in the, we call it the Cainiao post, so that the next consumer come in, they can reuse the box for sending out a new parcel. So that makes the consumer feel that they're actually doing something good for the environment, even though they order too many parcels, in my view.
This is the head of a logistics company complaining about too many parcels. Do you think that might come here at some point, what you just described, that experience?
Yeah, actually, you know, we have been working on the cross-border e-commerce logistics as well, because we believe, you know, if we can make the similar situation for the cross-border, we can duplicate what we have seen back in China. So I have an example here. If you can go to the next slide over here. So back 6 years ago, we saw some of the merchants in China are doing the cross-border. They're selling all over the world. For example, if you sending something to Brazil at that time, I remember normal time takes 60 days to deliver from China to Brazil. And happens at that time, they have a World Cup in Brazil. It was delayed. So we have a warning saying that it takes up to 6 months to get there. Basically, you order in spring, get in the fall, right? But still, people are still buying. So we are so inspired by this, and we think, what if we can make that much, much faster? Because you cannot be serious if it takes 60 days or even longer to get it delivered, right? So we rolled out a new product called $5 10-day delivery. Because $5 is something like a cup of coffee, right? Everybody can afford a cup of coffee. If we think if we can deliver something in 10 days, it's not as good as UPS, FedEx, or those Global Express, but they take like $50 to deliver something right fast. So we think with 10 days, it should be able to give certainty and match with the demand. And also $5 is something the merchant can afford. It's within their gross margin. So, and that happens, it actually matches with the demand very well. We were able to reach 1 million parcels every single day for the very first year we rolled out that product. Wow. So later on, we rolled out a new product called $10 in 5 days. So just make it simple. So that, because now people are building trust, and they want it getting faster and faster. It's not exactly 5 days, actually, it's 5 work days, because we haven't worked out the weekend thing yet. We are working on that, by the way. So we rolled that out to 14 countries already, so that we believe this will significantly improve the overall experience and will help the overall cross-border e-commerce really growing like, exponentially, actually. That's the opportunity over there. And in order to do that, we have to build the right the network for that. That's why we have been starting 10 years ago, we have started to keep building the network to support that, including the e-hubs. We have an e-hub in Liège, Belgium, which is right beside the airport runway. We integrate the air cargo terminal, customs clearance, sortation center, line haul operations all together, so that we could have the most efficient operation with the best speed and the lowest cost. Then we add charter flights between the e-hubs. So making sure, right, we have daily or sometimes multiple flights every day to connecting the major gateways. Then we can make sure we have the most efficient and reliable network to deliver the right speed we designed for.
As I understand it, you have a goal of sending packages anywhere in the world in 3 days for $3.
Not exactly. Still, the price. We think it's more of right now. Our target is at $10. We want to gradually get that to the $7 range. That is the kind of the price of a cup of coffee. Because when we started, Jack come up with he made 2 things. He gave us a very peculiar name, right? So Cainiao.
Tell us about this. So what does that name mean?
Yeah, Cainiao means rookie bird in Chinese.
Rookie bird.
Yeah, so it's a bird and it's a rookie, means right in Chinese, because we are newcomer in logistics, and Jack think we should keep the day one mentality and keep learning and keep improving our experience. So that's the way. And he also made set very clear objective for us. For example, the objective is to achieve 24-hour delivery in China and 72-hour anywhere in the world. He made it so clear there's not much room to rephrase it.
Right. Right.
So the only option for us is just to make it happen. So we are making progress, just we're not there yet.
The unreasonable man. You've been quoted as saying the biggest barrier to globalization is logistics. Can you unpack that for us?
It's the same thing. I was given our experience in China. I think if we can, solve the logistics problem, and the logistics problem for cross-border and globalization is even way more complicated than domestic. There's so many segments involved. There's customs clearance, a lot of uncertainty. So if we can solve that problem and make it not as exactly the same, but close to the 3-day to 5-day experience, I think people were getting very, very serious about, because it's kind of narrow the gap between domestic shopping and the cross-border shopping. I think that will really help all the small and medium merchants all over the world, not just in China. Actually, we see a lot of merchants in China selling globally, but we also see the trend that, for example, in a lot of the part of the world, in Eastern Europe, in Turkey, we have a lot of women coming from Turkey, covering Europe, covering Middle East, in Mexico, in United States as well, right? If we can have a network that can plug and play, and so easy, right, so standardized, then we can enable a lot of the merchants that can sell globally. That will, I believe it will be so different from what it is right now.
I mean, it reminds me, listening to you, I could have been at the Web2 Summit in 2004 talking about the internet, right? This idea that you have a global market and that there's no barrier between any particular destination as long as everyone's connected to the network. But this is for physical goods that have cost to them to move from one place to another. But many of those costs are logistics. They're just how do you actually get it done. But it seems to me you're creating an internet for physical goods.
That's exactly the idea. I mean, right now with the technology, right, all the transaction can happen online, virtually. All the payment have been solved, right? But for logistics, you have to do the physical delivery, right? The physical good flow through from origin to the destination. So I believe that's the biggest challenge. Also, on the other way, is the biggest opportunity as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you talk a little bit about, what differentiates the company? Particularly, can you tell us a bit more about your technology infrastructure?
Sure, yeah. You can see the technology structure we have been working on for the past decade. And we have a 3-layer architecture over there at the bottom, which is most importantly the digitization. We believe that's the key, because that's the way your system, your network perceive the physical world, right? That's the way how you can digitize every parcel, digitize every personnel, every vehicle, digitize every movement and process. That's the most critical part. So, but it is a very challenging work to do, and it takes a lot of heavy lifting to do that. So we have been working on that. We invest a lot on the IoT technology as well, in order to be able to collecting the data, digitizing in scale. Then on top of that, we have the algorithm intelligence. That's with the data, we can make decisions. We can optimize the decisions in terms of the network topology, in terms of the routing, the batching, everything together. So that's the second layer. On top of that is the automation. With the right decision, then we have to execution, right? We have to, during the execution, we want it to be reliable, we want to be reducing the human intervention so that it can be as certainty, more reliability. So that's the 3 layers we have been working on. There's a couple examples in next slides. So, for example, the first product we're showing here is one of the rocket-based the pilot shuttle. So that because this is something we designed to be able to enable the brands to combine their online and offline operations together. Because in China right now for P&G, the online and the offline sales is about 50-50 right now. It doesn't make sense to manage them separately. You have to merge them. Then how can you achieve the high density storage and at the same time have the throughput for the Double 11 event, which has to be relying on the next generation of the robotics to solve that. Also, as I mentioned, we invest a lot on the RFID as well, because that's the technology we think can help us to collect all the information in the next steps. For example, every time I do a manual scan, it costs me 10 cents US dollar 10 US cents, right? That's a lot comparing the overall cost I have. So I have to find ways to reduce that kind of manual work and use technology to collecting all the data. And the last example is about the unmanned vehicle. So we have been deploying unmanned vehicle in the university campuses. We have around 600 of them delivering, the students are super busy on everything else. So we want to deliver the parcel right to the dormitory, right, using the unmanned vehicle. And starting early this year, many of the Chinese cities also lifted the restrictions on the unmanned vehicle for the open road right now. So we are deploying the unmanned vehicle into the open road, delivering from the sortation centers into our Cainiao post, the pickup and drop-off stations right now. And we got really encouraging feedback from the couriers because they said, even though the cost is about the same, but the feedback we got from the couriers saying that for the drivers, they are not sure whether they are going to show up tomorrow or not. There's a lot of no call, no show, right? It could be if there's rain, snow.
Yeah.
But for those, unmanned
They don't
vehicles,
call in sick?
Yeah, as long as you charge last night, right, they will show up next morning.
Yeah.
I think this.
Well, at some point they should be delivering dominoes, is what I'm thinking.
Yeah. By the way, we call them little donkey. So we like to use animals. So for the unmanned vehicle is called the little donkey.
Well, I feel like I just got a glimpse into the future, and unfortunately we're out of time. But I hope we can bring you back and see how things have evolved over the coming years. Thank you so much for being part of Signal.
Thanks for having me here. It's a great honor.